Betty, do you have a date? Would you like to go to the dance? Many arrangements for the prom? Such a dork.
Isn't that a cute dress, Betty? Yeah, last season.
Hi, Betty.
WCW Mayhem. It starts in the ring. It just doesn't have to end there. Oh, my goodness.
That was so rude.
And now, introducing the hottest new tag team in podcasting, George Feast, Johnny Clash, the Game Mart.
George,
Yes.
are you sick of me yet?
Nah.
We made it past 10 episodes.
We're double digits now, man. This is getting kind of serious.
Why don't you do that thing you do?
Welcome to episode 11 of the Game Marks podcast. My name is George Feast, and I, as always, am here with my tag team partner, independent wrestler Johnny Clash.
Hey!
Each week on this podcast, we break down the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games and give our rating of Play It Forever or Future Endeavor. This week on the podcast, we're playing WCW Mayhem. But first, what's up, Johnny boy?
How you doing? You feeling
I'm
all right?
I'm a little under the weather. It's not
All right.
ideal for recording a podcast, but
You sound good.
Got a bottle of water here, and we're gonna get through this.
All right. So, I just want to say, by the time last week's episode aired, I already had wrestled Team ECW.
Oh, how'd that work out for you?
Let me tell you, I wish I was just a fly in the wall on the locker room back in the 90s when these guys were running wild.
So, for those of you who are either just joining us for the first time, if this is the episode that you decide to join us, welcome. We're
Hey,
happy to
thank you.
have you here. But just give them a recap of what we've been talking about for the last couple weeks.
So, Creative Pro Wrestling, Kurt Hawkins Wrestling School, we had a show. It was me and my team. We are known as Spite. Liam Davis, Mike Anthony. We teamed with, unfortunately, Carlo Weiss, Kip Stevens, against the abominable CPA from Off the Hop Rope, Just Incredible, Little Guido, Julio De Niro making his return after 8 years, and can I just tell you, he is sharp, and if he decided to go on one of those indie runs like PCO right now, he would blow up.
That's all I've heard is that people were blown away about, I've heard that, like, I'm not a wrestler, but I've heard that if it's something that you've done for a long time, it's really hard to, like, lose it. Like, ring rust is a thing, but if
It's
you
like
got
picking
it,
up a guitar after a while.
yeah,
You
but
still remember
apparently
the
he,
song.
like, didn't miss a beat after
Oh,
8
no,
years.
he was pulling
That's really
everything out.
impressive.
Corkscrew sentons, and
That's
we were
nuts.
blown
man.
away. And the
Nuts.
Sandman. Sandman was also on that team.
Absolute legend.
So, yeah, Team ECW had a kendo stick, and we didn't. So let's take a little peek behind the curtain of that whole night.
Did he get you again?
He didn't get me again, no. I'm
Oh.
going to jump away from wrestling for a second.
All right.
This was Game 6 of the MLB playoffs. George, are you a Yankees fan?
No, I'm a Mets fan.
So you're going to enjoy this even more, because
Okay.
obviously, as the world now knows, the Yankees lost after a heartbreaking 10th inning. DJ LeMahieu smacked a home run, tied the game, and Altuve smacked another one. And at that moment, all of us Yankee fans, if you want to know what our face looks like, Kurt Hawkins captured it on video. He is the only one. First of all, DJ hit that home run. We all went nuts, I'm hugging Raleigh, the Stallion, Raleigh Allen. Well, me and Tibbs are hugging. We're high-fiving. Everyone's going nuts. Brian throws his hat down. He goes, you know what? I'm going to buy everyone a round of drinks on me because I shit-talked the whole time. So this one's on me. So we all grab a beer. Altuve gets up, smacks one. I have never heard Hawkins scream as loud as he did. He leaves the room, leaves us all in complete and utter shock. We're throwing our hats down like, okay, I guess it's time to go home, pack it in. It's like 12:30 at this point. My wife's texting me like, holy crap, I just watched that too. And in he comes, holding his phone in all of our faces, laughing at us. We're just flipping him off.
Oh,
it was
so
miserable.
Good. That's so good.
This is after we had a great show. The Islanders won. I was on my high. Islanders won 4 in a row. And now the Yankees tie it up tonight. We can go to
and
game
as we're
7.
recording, the Islanders won again tonight.
5th in a row.
Ooh, big fan. Big fan of this.
Yes. So that was my Saturday. And,
also, crazy development. We found something that we don't agree on.
Finally, yeah.
We agree on most things, oddly enough, but holy shit, we found a sports team. Now, all right, let's just get this out of the way. So, baseball, you're a Yankees fan. I'm a Mets fan. Hockey, we've talked about it. What'd you say?
I'm sorry that you're a Mets fan.
No, don't be sorry. It's fine. I have a squad of people to back me. Shout out to Brian and CPA. I know that they're with me. Hockey, we've talked about multiple times on the podcast. We're both diehard
Islander fans. 5-year season ticket holder.
Yes. I'm married now, and when they go to Belmont officially, I have the option to get season tickets. So we'll be.
Belmont's pretty much down the block from my house, so
yeah.
See you there.
Well, come and find us at the Game Marks Pod section of Belmont Stadium. And then let's just get this out of the way. So I don't follow basketball at all. I don't know if you do.
I used to be a pretty big Lakers fan, actually.
Okay, so if you're gonna put on NBA and watch a game, that's what you're looking to watch.
I have a ton of Lakers merch. I used to watch the games when they were in the playoffs mostly because they were more national.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to watch one now unless you're streaming it online.
Yeah, I've never really followed basketball. It's literally like all of my friends are super into it. It's never.
Yeah.
Played it when I was younger, but
it's
never done it for me. I don't know why.
I was a big Kobe fan. I was a big Shaq fan. So kind of once all that went off into the distance, so did I.
Yeah. And then football. Who you got in football?
Big time Giants fan.
Okay. So all right. So we're the only thing that we differ on is baseball. All right. So that was good. That was fun. Little off wrestling conversation. Big fan of that. But I think that it's time that we get into a little gaming news. And I mean, this is the week, Clash. This was, as we're recording this was the week that 2K20 dropped, and boy, did it ever drop.
What's the WrestleMania phrase where it all begins again?
Yeah.
Boy, did it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've talked pretty much ad nauseum before this game came out about our opinions, what we hope for the game, and I almost am at a loss for words, man.
Okay, so I'll break it down right now. And this is how I think we should do it. This is how I think we should keep it. We've all seen the bad of the game. Not as much good. We've all seen the ratings. People are sending me the IGN ratings of the game. I don't want to see it. It's funny to watch all these clips of people bouncing off the ropes, rolling through the ring. I don't want to see it. Until the game is in my hand, which it will be this week, until I play through it, I want to play through the entire My Career Mode, or Our Career Mode, whatever it's called. I don't want to touch on this game.
Well, you and I will be playing through it, so it's Our Career Mode.
Our. I don't want to touch on it. I don't want to give feedback. I don't want to sway anyone a certain way until I've physically played the game and I've played it to its capacity.
Yeah. So we did get a little bit of an update in terms of the DLC, which we originally talked about the Bump in the Night DLC, but now we have the full calendar, I guess, for all 4 packs. So the Bump in the Night was the pre-order bonus that released on the 28th, and it will be made available 1 week after launch. So by the time you're hearing this, it should be out. And from what I'm hearing, the way to unlock the Fiend is to play through the Fiend Tower, and which some people have been upset about, but I think it almost kind of is a throwback to the games from when we were kids. But
if you're paying for it, you should get it.
Yeah, but you're not really paying for it. It's a pre-order bonus.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
yes, you do have the option to buy it after for $15 or whatever it's going to cost, but as a pre-order bonus, I feel like games, like I miss those days when like you had to like work through, like, okay,
Yeah.
full disclosure, we're playing through all these retro games. I'm loving it, but it's also sparking my interest in a bunch of other retro games, more specifically the Tony Hawk series. So I've been playing through all of those again, and it's really, really cool to like go back to a time when you had to play through a game to unlock characters, to unlock levels. So having this bump in the night tower that you have to do to unlock probably the most sought after character in this game right now kind of makes it worth it. It adds a little extra element, a little more playability to the game where it's not just like, I got it, I'm jumping into a match, I have everything about his character now, I don't need it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you explained it good.
The other DLC packs include Wasteland Wanderers, which it looks like it's just arenas. Like
Sure.
So here we go. Wasteland Wanderers features an arena set in a brown and gray post-apocalyptic dead zone. So it is just an arena. Which for DLC, I'm hoping that there's something else with it and that maybe it's just like a teaser and it gives you an idea. And maybe this all plays into like that extra mode where there's the over-exaggerated versions of everyone and maybe you get some Mad Max style characters, which would be cool, I guess. The other two packs are the Southpaw Wrestling, which
This one's cool. We knew.
I don't know if you've ever watched it. Yeah, this was the one that we had talked about, that we knew about, but we couldn't say that we knew about it. But oh man, super excited about this. Clash, I don't know if you watched this series on YouTube when it was out. A few. Oh, I think it's so great. I think it's so great. I was a huge fan of it. I followed it. I watched it religiously every time that it came out. I was all about the new episodes. So to see this, let's see. Southpaw Wrestling feels like the truly exciting one with a throwback ring that features palm trees on the apron and is surrounded by swimming pools. So I'm getting a little Bash at the Beach sense
FCW.
So yeah, a little. It could be interesting. Again, hoping that they have some of these characters from Southpaw Wrestling, where you have the OC doing their characters, you have Natty doing their characters, you have Rusev and Lana doing their characters. I would love to have something like that.
I think they're gonna have it, Georgie. Something just tells me.
I don't know. And then the final, and probably, I think the most confusing DLC, it is called Empire of Tomorrow. Which
this one looks weird.
Yeah, adds a setting that looks airlifted out of Tron, is the description that I'm reading. So I'm assuming that this is a super futuristic, Super
Smash Brothers arena?
Yeah, you never know. Just, it could be, Kurt Russell could be waiting for you in Tron. You never know, but it's different. That's for sure. We've definitely not seen stuff like this DLC before, so I don't know. Content creators for YouTube and Twitch may not be getting all of the content that they want out of these DLC packs, but I think that this is going to be interesting in terms of how different the DLC packs are, because we don't know what they are. Usually the DLC packs have been like future stars, so that you're getting people from NXT that are going to probably get a push, or hopefully get a push in the next couple of years. You get the Hall of Fame class, you get your creative wrestler bonus, and you get a move set. So like this adds a little bit of mystery and a little bit of intrigue, I guess would be a good word. Just like I'm interested to see what comes with these packs. Obviously, as we get more information, we'll be talking about. But for right now, Bump in the Night, Wasteland Wanderers, Southpaw Wrestling, Empire of Tomorrow are your 4 announced DLC packs for WWE 2K20.
And I have just a few more things before we can move on from 2K20.
Alrighty.
A game developer from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 through 2011, I believe, Justin Leeper, He put out a video on Twitter about how he feels about this game. Did you get a chance to watch that?
I did.
So I actually reached out to him and tried to get him to come on and talk about some of the stuff. He responded very nicely saying he's putting
Yeah, he was very great about it.
He's putting all of his notes together kind of on his time working on games, which he has a website. He has a blog that he keeps up with. And he said when he gets all his notes together, he publishes something, he'll reach back out. So that was pretty cool. We retweeted the video if you guys want to check it out. Just to see someone else who's been in this industry on both sides kind of give their take for someone who wrote the stories of these past games.
And that's something that we want to try to bring to you guys in future episodes. You know, as we grow, as this podcast grows, as our, Game Marks podcast community grows, we want to be able to bring you guys content like this where we can sit down and talk to someone who's, not only a wrestling and video game fan, but actually has gotten their hands dirty in terms of like programming and developing and running storylines for doing the Road to WrestleMania modes for the SmackDown vs. Raw series. Someone who's been in the trenches, who's worked with the WWE to create these games that we played. Obviously, we're going to play these games, but to be able to bring you guys that kind of content is something that, I don't know about you, Clash, but that's something that I was hoping to be able to do since we started this podcast.
Absolutely. Because, I want to know. And if I want to know, that means everyone else wants to know. So,
yeah. As silly and stupid as it may sound, I really enjoy hearing those stories when you give a peek behind the curtain. Same thing when I listen to Off the Hop Rope or Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, where they give that little peek behind the curtain and you hear things about happen, a little behind the scenes stuff. It's interesting because, like I said, I've mentioned it many times, I am not a wrestler. I am not a part of that world. So to get that kind of information, it's cool to me as a wrestling fan. So being a video game fan as well, I think that it's, just as cool.
Absolutely. And my last note here.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to bring negativity, which I'm not. I just want to point something out that was pointed out to me. Because I actually tried defending this game and the roster, how it's still big. There are 12 Charlotte models in this game.
I knew that was going to come up because if you didn't bring it up, I was going to.
12.
This goes back to what we were saying about, who did we use as the example? Oh, Ultimate Warrior, where you can pick Warrior from 94, Warrior from 96. It's one Warrior listed. You just
one
pick
Warrior Nation.
You just pick the outfit that you want to wear, because that's all it is. It's not like there's 12 different Charlottes with 12 different stats. They're all the same stats. It's just different costumes.
Anyway, I just wanted to point that out for a second. Well, I actually have some follow-up from last week when we played Legends of Wrestling.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So, Mar365, that's MOHR365 on Instagram, Larry Mormon from the Retro Gamers podcast.
Okay.
He responded to our picture of an ad of Legends of Wrestling, and he said something pretty interesting. In college, Acclaim showed up asking people to take a survey about if they made a wrestling game, who they would want to see in it, and like a year later, Legends of Wrestling came out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually like a really good way to get the information about who you would want in a game.
Especially because you're going to a college where they might just be wrestling fans who watched in the past, not the avid weekly wrestling viewer. So they're going to say like the old wrestlers that they remember. So that's a pretty good idea. I asked him who he chose. Obviously, he didn't remember. He said it was a long time ago. But he probably would have chose like Hogan, Andre, Piper. But he did remember that afterwards they gave him a copy of Burnout on PS2 as a reward for doing the survey. That's pretty damn cool.
Wait, that's like the best reward. We want your
Right?
opinion. Wait a second. So we want your opinion.
Take the
For a
survey.
video game that we're making. Please tell us what wrestlers you would like to be in the game. Take this survey. As a reward, we're going to give you I'm assuming. So, refresh my memory. Legends of Wrestling came out in what year?
2002 it came out.
Okay, so Legends of Wrestling came out in 2002. Burnout is like, you said it was Burnout 2?
Burnout 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the beginning of that series. That's like, I mean, that when that game first came out, it was, I played it. I don't know if you've ever played Burnout, but it's, oh my God, it was so good. So it's like a great reward. Like, man, where was I during this survey?
Honestly, I would take any game as a, I'll take any game as a reward. I don't care.
You'll take Super Brawl as a reward?
Yeah, sure. It's free.
All right, 3/4 camera, you got it.
Never mind.
You hear that? Send all your unwanted copies of WCW Super Brawl Wrestling, care of Johnny Clash.
Don't do that. So that's all the follow-up I have. Shall we go to the question of the week?
Yes, we shall.
The question of the week is sponsored by Cap TV.
Hello, it is I, the goatest of all time, Bobby Orlando, and I am here in your ear to tell you about Creative Pro Wrestling's weekly YouTube series, Cap TV, featuring superstars such as the Cap TV champion, Chris Statlander, Bear Bronson, the abominable CPA, Smart Mark Sterling, Jack Tomlinson, Max Caster, Bryce Donovan, and myself, your mom, along with the rest of the Cap roster. Visit youtube.com/Creative Pro Wrestling and catch up on the weekly action today! Bish.
All right, so it is the question of the week, and this week it is my turn to ask a question. And I'll be honest with you, full disclosure, this cold it took me out of commission, man. I haven't been able to really think of a question, so we're gonna do this Johnny on the spot right now. And
okay,
my question to you will be: is if you were gonna make a DLC pack for 2K20, who would you put in your DLC pack?
Oh, okay.
And you can't say 12 versions of Sting.
Well, there is only 2 versions in the game, which kind of made me mad because I like playing as the newer version of people also. So I digress.
I will never forget that message that you sent me where you're just like, WTF, there's only 2 Stings.
91
only you.
91 and 98, I think, or 97. I don't know. Crow Sting and Surfer Sting. That's it.
So let's limit it to this. So each DLC pack typically came with anywhere between 6 to 8 wrestlers. So what do you want to do 6?
Sure.
Okay. Now keep in mind, there's 175 wrestlers on the roster this year. And caveat to the question, little addendum. They have to have at one time worked for the WWE. So no AEW.
Okay, I wasn't going there. So first of all, I would want the NXT UK arena that they use for weekly TV with that unique Titantron that they have.
Okay, so that fits into the themes of what we've got going on already in the DLC. I'm all for that.
I believe some of these superstars are already in the game, so stop me if they are.
Okay.
I would go Dave Mastiff.
Okay.
Walter's a big one.
Yeah.
Kaylee Ray, Zach Gibson, and James Drake. I like those guys.
Yep.
And if we want to round out the women, I would put Viper in there.
Ooh.
I would almost say Zaya Brookside. Just as like a little nod to Papa Bear, Robbie Brookside.
Yeah. I'm okay with those choices. Because then you can do like,
El Ligero, you could open a whole NXT UK game from there.
But Rhea Ripley's already in the game, so then you could do Piper Niven, Rhea Ripley. You can do Toni Storm, Piper Niven, and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat. Like, it opens up a lot of matches that you can do.
Yeah, I actually watched the first maybe, I would say like 6 to 8 episodes of NXT UK. I watched the takeovers and everything. I found it very intriguing. I like British wrestling. I like that style.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's hard to keep up with anything when you're married and wrestling and working and all that. So
yeah, it's a full-time job just doing this podcast with me. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. We all have our struggles. Yours is me. All right. I'm all for that. I agree with it. But as usual, we would like to open up the question of the week to all of you. Please, please, please follow us on Twitter at GameMarksPod. We would love to hear your answers and
keep it nice, please.
I was just gonna say, as a favor to us, just so that this can be a very friendly conversation.
So we could have a normal chat. We're not gonna put the how about fix the game? That's a DLC. We know. We know.
I want 6 wrestlers fixed for my DLC.
I want 6 less Charlottes.
Yeah, if you could put people who aren't in the game currently from NXT, the main roster of WWE, WWE or NXT UK. Oh, how about like a WWE ECW DLC pack?
And then I could actually beat Team ECW. No, I'd probably
moving on.
I'd probably
All right,
lose.
moving on. You're only allowed to face them on ultra hard difficulty, and you have to face them as Johnny Clash.
Okay.
That being said, big fan of this question of the week. I think I may do them on the spot from here on out because that actually turned out pretty good.
Hey, why not?
It is time for us to jump into this week's game, WCW Mayhem. But before we do that, we want to let you know that the hashtag Deep Dive is brought to you by Space Zamboni.
Space Zamboni is an entertainment and comedy site bringing together the world of gaming, esports, and more. From animations, game reviews, playthroughs, skits, and podcasts, Space Zamboni is the new one-stop shop with over 200 users strong. Head over, create a watch list, and stay up to date on your newest content. That's spacezamboni.com. And hey, if you want to sponsor one of our episodes, please reach out to gamemarkspod@gmail.com.
Yeah, or you can reach out to us on any forms of social media. We are very easy to find. We are just at GameMarksPod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you listen to this podcast and you want to hear your ad, let us know. We'd love to have you.
Anyway, George, I have been waiting for this ever since we started the podcast. I think even before we recorded our first episode, I was talking about WCW Mayhem, sending you screenshots, sending you my memories of the game. I am all over the place. I have a list of notes on top of our notes that are in my phone. Let's go.
One of the few occasions that you've actually asked to do the cover art for this episode.
I've done a few. I did the first 2, I think, but you
immediately jumped at the chance. You're like, I want to do this one. Okay, I'm not gonna steal this from you. This is your game. Like you said, you've literally been talking about this since before the first episode, since the trailer. Crush Hour.
I like this game a lot better than Crush Hour.
I hope so. All right, so WCW Mayhem, developed by Kodiak Interactive, published by EA. And this is the first EA wrestling game. So this game was released on the PlayStation 1, the Nintendo 64, and the Game Boy Color.
Boy, was
there's so many games that I just did not know were on the Game Boy. And I feel like this is like a whole can of worms I didn't know existed. Now we're going to have to go back and play all of them, which is great. But I'm learning a lot about the Game Boy Color. It was released on the PlayStation August 31st, 1999, on the Nintendo 64, September 21st, 1999, and the Game Boy Color, May 10th of the year 2000. Wow.
That's a pretty long time in between.
Yeah.
And it's a month between
this is
PlayStation
better
and
than
64.
the other Game Boy ports that we've seen, but we will learn.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I feel like it's a running trend I'm learning.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't you take us through some of the features of this game, being that it's this is your baby.
Okay. This is the first game to feature all 12 WCW pay-per-view venues, as well as Nitro, Thunder, Saturday Night, all the TV venues. It was the
Bam!
first.
Banana.
Cut it out. It was the first game to be released in the United States that included backstage arenas, and this was expanded upon in the sequel, which bombed, WCW Backstage Assault, where you only fight in a backstage arena.
Now, absolutely shocked me when you ran out of the ring up onto the entrance ramp, and all of a sudden I was getting pulled backstage. I had no idea that was even a feature in this game.
The first.
Yeah, it was kind of jarring. Got some weird camera angles during this part, but all in all, it's very interesting.
Okay, so we played backstage for I don't know 2 minutes. Could you see yourself playing a whole game back there?
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
That's why the sequel bombed. Anyway, it was the first wrestling game to integrate commentary over the match rather than random music playing. It was provided by Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan. There was no...
Hey, Tony Schiavone was in Super Bowl.
Loosely. Very, very loosely. Thing is, they had a 4-man booth. I understand they can't put 4 people in a game, so they went with Tony and Bobby Heenan, obviously. Yeah. Larry Zbyszko and Mike Tenay were left out. And for the N64 version, only Schiavone's in the game as the announcer. But the funny thing is, he still directs his commentary towards Heenan, who's just not there. There's nothing
in the
more...
Game Boy version, there's no commentary.
Yeah. There's
from anybody.
Nothing more WCW than that. Like it's like if you couldn't make this episode and I was just like, isn't that right, George? Right, okay, let's go to our deep dive.
That is very WCW.
Yeah. So this is probably my favorite thing about this game, but I see how it got old quick. They featured a pay-per-view mode in the game, like in the load screen of the menu, where you type in a code and you would unlock real-life pay-per-view match lineups. So that's pretty cool. Oh. So they would give them out on like the Nitro a few weeks before the pay-per-view, so you could play through, but it only lasted 3 months because eventually that whole roster was gone.
Okay, so I just looked up some of the codes that you can put in for this game. These are some of the most
PLY, they were all like
convoluted and difficult cheat codes I've ever seen in my entire life. Why? Oh my!
They were very annoying to
so
type too.
So complicated.
So rather than the keyboard popping up and you selecting the letter, it started at A every time, and you had to scroll to the letter and then press next, scroll to the letter from A again. It was very annoying.
No, this is horrible. This may be the worst. Like, it's not even worth having cheat codes.
No.
Like, it is so...
But
wow.
You don't think to, like, plan better with the game that you have this prominently on your menu screen and after 3 months it just doesn't count?
Remember a couple minutes ago when we were talking about the commentary and we said that this is so WCW?
Okay. This is so WCW.
See previous comment.
The game was also sponsored by Surge Energy Drink, which to
the
gamers
OG
like
Code
us,
Red.
Yeah, to gamers like us, we're like, oh, give us all the Surge, which you could even see in some of the backstage arenas. There are Surge posters and logos and
amongst
machines.
the Nitro girls.
Yeah. So the list of backstage arenas, you have the locker room, storage room, parking lot during the day, parking lot during the night. There's a
very
difference,
important that you included both of those. Very important.
Yeah, because there might be a daytime Nitro somewhere. There's a hallway, boiler room, ticket office, loading room, restroom, office during the day, office at night, media
Again,
room.
Very important.
I guess there's a window.
One singular window.
The media room and the first aid room. Now, every time, this isn't like No Mercy or the newer SmackDown games where you go down a hall and pick what room you're going in.
Okay.
You just go in backstage and you're suddenly in the loading room or the ticket office. And that's really it. Every game has a different backstage scene.
It's very interesting. I don't know. I think maybe... So wait, what did we get when we were in the loading?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, or the parking? Yeah, it had to be the loading room because it wasn't the parking. wasn't a parking lot.
Could have been the storage room,
Yeah.
I guess. There was just a Nitro
Interesting.
Girl picture on the wall and weapons on the floor.
Yeah,
It's kind
I
of
mean,
it's kind of cool because as soon as you go backstage, it's black and white and it shows it from like a security camera perspective, and then that goes away.
yeah, those first couple of minutes or seconds, really, while you're on it, it's very jarring because it's sharp camera cuts and
It's cool though.
Yeah.
I like it. It's different. So let's dive into this pretty big roster for the time.
Yeah.
Looking back at Warzone, which was 2 years before this, on the same platforms, they only had 18 wrestlers. We jumped up to 50.
Wow. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to do, so we have this broken up right now between the default roster, the unlockable wrestlers, and then the Game Boy Color roster. So how about this? Do you want to do the 50 wrestlers or the starting roster, and then I will take us through the unlocks and the Game Boy roster?
Sure. Sounds good.
It looks that like that'll be about even.
Yeah, of course, George. Sure.
Wow.
So when you load up the
Wow.
game, you have Alex Wright, Billy Kidman, Bobby Duncombe Jr., Booker T, Bret the Hitman Hart, Buff Bagwell, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Chris Benoit, Chris Canyon, Kurt Hennig, Dean Malenko, DDP, Disco Inferno, Eddie Guerrero, Ernest the Cat Miller, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Horace Hogan, Juventud Guerrero, Kaz Hayashi, Kenny Chaos, Kevin Nash, Conan, Laparca, Lex Luger, Liz Mark Jr., Macho Man Randy Savage, Norman Smiley, Perry Saturn, Prince Iakea, Psychosis, Raven, Rey Mysterio Jr., Scott Norton, Scott Steiner, Steve Mongo McMichael, Stevie Ray, Sting, and Wrath. Now that is black and white Sting, and that is unmasked Rey Mysterio.
Which, this is not a bad roster. Like, it's a nice mix.
Probably you're sick of hearing me say it. I mentioned it during our Clash at the Feast match and video. Rey Mysterio is unmasked. There is no unlockable to have him in a mask, and I feel like they dropped the ball on that because no one wants to see what looks like a little child with his boxers hanging out wrestle. I get it.
Yeah.
That's what he was at the time, but at least give us the unlockable.
So the other thing that we talked about during the Clash at the Feast match, which is available on our social media, was how the roster is broken up.
Yes.
So you have the generic, just standard WCW roster. You have the NWO Black and White. You have the NWO Wolfpack. You have the Horsemen, Cruiserweights, and the Hardcore. Now, my question to Clash as soon as we booted up the game was, how come the NWO Black and White roster is so small, and how come the Wolfpack roster is so big, and Hulk Hogan is in the Wolfpack wearing black and white?
So, this game came out in August and September. It was only January, the end of February, January of the same year. So, like, I would say 6 or 7 months before this that Kevin Nash beat Goldberg for the championship at Starrcade. And the NWOs kind of merged together to form, like, Super NWO.
Okay.
So that's where Hogan goes back to the Wolfpack. It's really just the 4 guys that are left in Hollywood that are left in Hollywood. So the finger poke of doom where this happened was January 4th at the Georgia Dome. So from January to August, they just kind of said, we're not gonna change anyone's appearance. We're just kind of gonna move them from this menu to this menu.
All right. I mean, it makes sense.
Hey, that's so WCW.
Yeah. It was very jarring to me because I was like, wait, this roster is all jacked up. It doesn't make any sense. But once you explained it to me, it kind of jogged my memory of around the time that these things happened. So it makes sense. All right. So the unlockable wrestlers for this game are mostly unlocked by playing the Quest for the Best, which is essentially their road to WrestleMania. You pretty much just fight through the roster and win a belt. Yeah. So your roster includes Arn Anderson, Bam Bam Bigelow, Barry Windham, Bobby Blaze, Bobby Eaton, Chris Jericho, Doug Dillinger, Eric Bischoff, Jimmy Hart, Lash LaRue, Mean Gene Okerlund, Ric Flair, Rick Steiner, Scott Hall, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, Sonny Ono, and you know what, Clash, you can read this last one.
And Wolfpack Sting.
Ow!
Red and black.
Yeah. And
it's cool because he's actually wearing the red singlet with the black logo.
oh, really? It's not the black with the red scorpion?
Nope.
Ooh.
It's red.
So your Game Boy Color roster: Bam Bam Bigelow, Bret Hart, Buff Bagwell, Booker T, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and Sting.
I just want to say, Bam Bam Bigelow has been in an insane amount of video games.
But all recently, like all the ones that we've been playing recently, and we've jumped around from like game to game. Like we played, what did we play? We played In Your House, and he was in that. And then we played 2K16, and he's in that too.
He was in WrestleMania on the NES. He was in King of the Ring, Rage in the Cage, Raw, the arcade game, Mayhem, Backstage Assault, Legends 2.
Is he in WrestleFest?
No, he's in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, Legends of WrestleMania, Supercard, 15, 17, 18, 19.
He's in so many. I had no idea.
And he's in both sides, WCW and WWE.
Nuts. And you know what? Let's just breeze over this because I know you got comments. I don't really have that many comments. There is a create a wrestler mode. It's very basic.
It's but
not anything.
It's old, so
yeah.
Typical.
There is one feature. It's very strange. You could set your player model parts to invisible. So, like, you could have a wrestler with a full body but no head. Or, a floating head and no torso but legs.
Nothing.
Or just completely invisible, which...
The Invisible Man. Give someone for your created Joey Janela to wrestle.
John Cena is in this video game. You didn't even know it.
I think it's cool because they give you that. They give you kind of zombie-looking, messed up heads.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. A robot. You get like a samurai.
They actually give you a top that looks like Kane's top. So obviously, I made Kane.
They have a Mankind-style mask as well.
Yeah, they didn't have the Kane mask, but they had just kind of like a distorted black and red face, so I would just give them that.
Yeah, it worked. You could use your imagination, squint a little bit.
Exactly. You didn't pick a moveset either, like move by move.
You just picked whose moveset do you want?
Right. But there were two options. It said moveset and it said finishing move. You could select either one, but they both moved the same, so
yeah.
Kind of dumb. Speaking of the finishers,
your version of GMP Man, who did you pick?
I believe Eddie.
Oh, who did I pick? Guess.
Ray?
Nope.
Prince Iakea?
Nope.
I don't know.
Who's better than Canyon?
Okay.
Big Mortis fan as a kid, so this was an easy decision.
All right.
Love the Flatliner.
I think one of my favorite things in this was the entrance music because it was all up to date and, I'm a big Nirvana guy. They had Ravens, DDPs. I actually did Ravens versus DDP and it was kind of funny because it was just like Come As You Are leading into Smells Like Teen Spirit. I don't know how they got away with any of this.
Yeah, that's because it's so WCW.
Yeah. Another thing when I was playing through, it was weird with some of the finishers. Like Sting's finisher is the meltdown. And Eddie's obviously was the Hurricanrana. We played through that. That one's not that normal. It's just not really a finisher. I played a Battle Royal because I like seeing the entrances. I like seeing, 4 different models, 4 different entrances. I did DDP versus Raven, like I just said, versus Alex Wright versus Disco Inferno. What a match. But
main event anywhere.
So Battle Royal means you leave the ring, you're eliminated. So the first thing I noticed was computer players were going for pins. So I thought maybe you could pin or submit and they're just taking forever to count, but no. So first, Raven goes flying out of the ring randomly. Right in the beginning, he's out. So now the button to grapple and the button to leave the ring are both square, exactly the same button.
Oh.
So I'm about to square up with DDP, and I exit the ring. and I'm eliminated. I was like, what? I didn't even go over the top.
Oh, man.
So that was short-lived.
That is probably the most that's WCW thing that we've talked about so far.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. I
Oh,
wasn't
God.
gonna
What
sit
match
around.
is that? What match is that where someone steps over the top rope? Is it Andre?
Drew Carey?
No, it's like a classic match, like Andre or something steps over the top rope. Oh, no, it's Great Khali.
Yes.
It's Great Khali. It's not Andre. Andre is not that dumb. Great Khali's having a match in the Royal Rumble, or it's an over-the-top battle royal. He throws someone out through the middle rope and steps over the top rope, touches the floor, and then gets back into the ring to finish the match. And he does it like 2 or 3 times in the match.
Oh, my God. He probably didn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, if it's your entrance, like Kevin Nash, Big Show, like that's their thing. I can understand, like that's your staple of how you get in and out of the ring. Speaking of going over the top rope, though, we played a couple matches before we did our Clash at the Feast match, and I played as Kevin Nash, you played as Psychosis, which is the weirdest match ever.
Pretty lopsided.
Kevin Nash goes to step over the top rope, and he steps over the middle rope, and his body just passes through the top rope. The hell's that about?
Hell of an entrance.
What,
Which, speaking back to the Battle Royal, the entrances are shorter. They actually don't do their full taunts. They don't do their full entrance that they would do if it was a singles match. They just kind of do their thing at the top of the ramp, and they go down to the ring.
Yeah, the entrances left a little bit to be desired in this game.
But they did animate certain ones, because I know Sting gets in the ring and he does his little woo.
He doesn't come down from the ceiling?
No.
Oh.
No, he wasn't coming down from the ceiling during this era.
No?
This is when he came back from injury. This is when, what face paint is he going to wear? He came back black and white.
Yeah,
he won the title. So I know my Sting.
Yeah, I'm not even going to touch it. It's a very sensitive subject. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, because even this Macho Man is the What Up match.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
What up, match?
One of the best entrance themes he's ever had.
Ban it.
But Sting's little woo. Woo. Have you ever heard? You have dogs, right? Have you ever stepped on their tail?
No, but I've heard this thing woo in this game.
Yeah.
I like my dogs. I don't step on their tails.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Accidents happen. I know. So let's talk about like our gameplay, and let's not get into the Clash of the Feast just yet. We played a couple matches. You
pointed out multiple times it's very similar to Attitude, which it is, but I think the gameplay is smoother. I think the visually
at times
the character models are smoother.
The collision detection is horrible in this game.
Yeah. The crowd sounds way better.
Looks horrible. Though.
Looks horrible, but it's way better than Attitude.
Like it may be the worst crowd we've seen. Like
but
I
the
think this
Attitude
may
crowd,
be worse than World Tour.
Oh God, yeah, it's right up there. They might have used the same one.
It's just pixels.
It's right
there's
there,
no definition. It's just flat pixels on a ramp.
But the crowd actually boos and cheers with the player. It sounds like a crowd. It doesn't sound just like random mumbling, I guess, like the other game.
Yeah, it's not just noise.
Right, and if you do a move too much, if you taunt, they will react. And if you taunt and get a successful taunt or two, they'll start to chant.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's pretty interesting. Now, we talked about how and we talked about the models, how we said they're very similar to Attitude and Warzone. The one thing that stood out for me, and I know that we both mentioned this during our playthrough, the textures are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie Guerrero, Kevin Nash look like Eddie Guerrero. Like, there's no question. It's not like, wow, where did they get this face from? Like, the face, the beard, the mustache, the shirt, the trunks, like, the textures on the model are phenomenal. Like, they're so good for a game of this time. I, genuinely was shocked. Like, I was at a loss for words about how good it was. Like, the first thing I noticed.
I think that's why I love this game as much as I do, because before this I was playing the AKI games, which we love them, but they're just not that visually perfect, I guess.
Yeah, it's a different visual style.
Yeah, and it was Nitro, it was Thunder. Those games were terrible. They looked terrible, they played terrible. So after all that, I was a PlayStation guy before I was an N64 guy. This game comes out, and it's just like, oh, baby.
Yeah. If I had this game as a kid, I probably would have played this a lot more. I had, unfortunately, owned Nitro.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I know that pain.
Well, fun fact. I bought this game at The Wiz. Do you remember The Wiz?
Nobody beats the Wiz.
Yeah. So they had a video game counter. It was kind of new because before then, you didn't buy games at The Wiz.
Period.
Yeah. They had this counter. It was kind of like a cash register in their new section. And this old guy was working the counter, and there was just PlayStation games behind him, N64 games behind him. And I go up there and I go, "Do you have Mayhem?" And he's like, "What?"
Did you say Mayhem?
Yes. I said, I was like 10 years old. "Do you have Mayhem?" And the guy's looking. He's like, "No." I'm like, "The one right there with the bald guy on it." He's like, "Mayhem?" He's like, "Oh, you mean Mayhem?" And I was like, "Yeah, come on, man. Like, I'm a kid. Help me out here." And I remember buying it, walking out of that. I think that, like, where the Wiz was situated in the mall I used to go to, it was where you walked in. So I remember the game was not in the bag. I held that game all throughout the mall. I opened it. I was reading the book. I was ready to go home. I probably didn't even play it when I got home because it was probably bedtime. But
that may be the most, like, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. Like, that's like a forgotten art. Like, do you remember when that was like a thing? Like,
yeah, you get home at like 9.
You have a bedtime. Like, you're
9:30,
like
10 o'clock from the mall and with your parents.
You're hyped up about getting the game, and it's like, all right, you'll play
you
it
gotta
tomorrow.
Do your homework. You gotta shower, get ready for school.
Playing anything tomorrow. I want to play it now.
Yeah, no, but when you got home that next day, the gloves were off.
Oh yeah.
And for the lack of, I guess, game modes in this game, I can't even tell you how many hours I probably put into it.
So, you know what? Speaking of game modes, let's read those off really quick.
Let's do it.
And we can go back into nostalgically remembering The Wiz. So the game modes for this include Quick Match. You don't pick an opponent or an arena for this game mode, which is, I guess, kind of in line with Attitude or with Warzone, right? Because you didn't get to pick your opponent or the arena that you did in Warzone.
Yeah, it's kind of just like quick play. You just pick your wrestler, and then it just throws you into a match with a random opponent, a random arena. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like waiting.
You have the game mode that we played several times, the main event mode, which is full customization. You picked your wrestler, you pick your opponent, you pick what kind of match you're having, where you're having your match, time limit, submission, pinfall, any of that. You have your Battle Royal, 4 players over the top. You have your 3-way dance, which is a single fall. You have your 4-way dance, which is, again, a single fall. You have your singles, you have your tag match, you have a handicap match, and what I will just refer to as, I guess, the bread and butter of this game, which is the quest for the best, which is a tower climber, for lack of a better term. You move up rankings for each title, similar to how you do in the current 2K career modes, where you just kind of, you're going for the NXT title. You have to beat X amount of people before you become the number 1 contender. So you have easy, medium, and hard difficulty. And oh, look at that. It's a throwback to Super Brawl.
Yes, it is.
Wow. So easy mode is for the TV title. Medium mode is for the US title. And hard mode is for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Now, the TV title one, the easy one, is only 5 matches. And then it goes up from there. I want to say the final World Heavyweight Championship is 10 matches. I specifically remember doing it with Kevin Nash.
All right. I mean, how are you not going to do it with Big Sexy?
Exactly.
So, once you go through the quest for the best, you are, depending on how you do, and what title you go for, you have your pick of a bunch of unlockables. So I guess depending on if you wanted to put in your cheat codes or if you actually wanted to play legit and go through, your unlockables are as follows. In addition to the roster that we listed off before, you can get full attribute points for your creator wrestler. You can play as the same wrestler, so if you wanted to do La Parka versus La Parka, you could. You can play on the old Nitro set, which I'm sure Johnny Clash has done multiple times.
Yep.
This one is weird. There is a quest for the best cheat, which pretty much means once you load in and you are at the ranking tower screen, all you have to do is press right on the D-pad and you move up in ranking. So you essentially could just load in, hit right a couple of times on the D-pad, and you're there, you're done.
Yeah, I guess that's for people who wanted to cheat and just unlock people quickly.
But there's also an unlock all hidden wrestlers code.
Kids are dumb.
Okay.
That's all. Kids are dumb.
There's another code for show momentum meter, show stamina meter. You can get the sold out pay-per-view, the uncensored pay-per-view. You can unlock all of the back rooms that Johnny Clash listed off before. You can unlock all the hidden wrestlers that I listed off before. You can, in addition to sold out and uncensored, you also can do Bash at the Beach, Halloween Havoc, Monday Night Nitro, Road Wild, Spring Stampede, Super Bowl, and World War III match cards, which is really cool.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that as a kid, but
it's a really interesting feature. Like,
yeah,
as a kid, I probably would have done this. Like, to recreate a whole pay-per-view, or at least the big title matches from a pay-per-view, that's pretty cool.
That's why this game is highly underrated for the little things that it did, like this, and like the backstage areas, and just the way they presented the game that kind of discreetly paved the way for the way games are now.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Seeing a list of unlockable wrestlers, unlockable venues, unlockable backstage areas, I wish more games had that. Like, it's such a lost art.
It gave you more of a point to play the game.
Yeah, replay value is a big thing for me when it comes to video games, and I feel like nowadays a lot of games have lost that.
Right.
All right.
So how about we get into the development of this game?
All right. Let's take us through it.
Okay, so WCW was using THQ for their past games. Nitro, Thunder, Revenge, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. This goes on.
WWF ended their 12-year relationship with Acclaim, and they started defecting over to THQ as well. So WCW did not want to use the same publisher as the WWF, so they ended up going to Electronic Arts, aka EA Sports. 1999. The first working title of this game was WCW NWO Mayhem. It was seen on some t-shirts and some photographs by the wrestlers. They used to wear it on Nitro. And then it just kind of switched to Mayhem with the newer WCW logo. They promoted this game for months on WCW TV. They even had a counter in the corner that would say how long the game would come out with days, hours, minutes. Kind of cool.
Hype, man.
Yeah, you don't see that. Then again, we see a game every year now, and they kind of just sponsor like a replay or something. This was a pretty big deal for them.
Yeah, like Skittles did during the Attitude Era.
Yeah. They showed a clip of Goldberg's character in a house environment spearing someone through a wall, but then when the game actually came out, there was no house arena or backstage area, and that was kind of just never seen again. That's so WCW. Okay, so this is my favorite part. A sequel to Mayhem was supposed to come out called Mayhem 2. It was supposed
very creative title.
It was planned for release on the PlayStation 2 in 2001. Obviously, it didn't because WWF bought WCW. But it was slated to be developed by AKI.
Really?
So we almost had another AKI title.
I actually am kind of mad about that.
Uh-huh. Because instead, do you know what AKI developed? Def Jam Vendetta.
I was gonna say it's something bad, isn't it? But it's
I wouldn't say
not.
bad, but
It's not. But if you're telling me that I could have had actual wrestlers, but in the play style of Def Jam Vendetta, I'm all for it.
yeah, but
That's like a better backstage assault.
yeah. So that's the thing. Mayhem 2, obviously developed by AKI, because Backstage Assault, the real sequel to Mayhem, was a complete failure, and
It's a dumpster fire.
So actually, while recording this episode, I have my Google machine open, and I saw a clip. It looked like kind of now how you see the mobile game as compared to the regular game, how it looks more polygony and terrible. But it was actually Backstage Assault compared to Mayhem. So they, similarly to now, they regressed and went backwards with the graphics.
I don't even know what to say. It has a blue cartridge on the N64.
Yeah, but like I said before,
And that box art's really cool.
picture playing an entire match in the backstage area that we played in Mayhem. It would get so boring. So let's get to the reception of the game and how the critics received it.
My favorite part. Tell me what people said about this game.
Upon its release, the game got above average reviews, rightfully
Okay.
so. The game was criticized for its poor collision detection, which you said,
Yes.
and lack of diverse movesets, which we saw.
Yeah.
It was praised for its smooth and detailed-looking graphics, and the sound was also highly praised. So
I
basically,
think this is the most I have agreed with a review
Yeah.
in 11 episodes.
this is everything we said.
Yeah.
So, Next Generation's Daniel Erickson reviewed the N64 version. He gave it a 1 star out of 5 and said, if this game existed in a total vacuum, it would barely pass. In the face of WrestleMania 2000 and even Attitude, it's simply inexcusable.
Wow.
So
Did not like
yeah.
that game.
Usually IGN are the tough ones, so now let's get into the ratings.
All right.
GameSpot gives it a 7 out of 10 on the N64 and a 7.4 out of 10 on the PlayStation.
That's close.
IGN, who's usually the toughest critic, gives it an 8.5 out of 10 on the N64. Then Next Generation, like we said, 1 out of 5 stars. And Game Rankings gives it a 67% on N64 and a 73% on PlayStation. Now, the Game Boy versions, do we even want to count these?
I mean, you could read them off, but we'll touch back on them when we eventually do this. But just, it's 3 ratings.
Yeah, so for Game Boy, GameSpot gives it a 6.7 out of 10, IGN a 7.0 out of 10, and Game Rankings a 63%.
Okay.
So overall, I think IGN liked this game the most, which they are usually the toughest critics.
Yeah, it's very... Yeah. I mean, for GameSpot reviewing N64 and PlayStation, it's pretty close. It's a 7 out of 10 and a 7.4 out of 10. It's, fairly even.
Right. Now, while we were on the rankings, do we want to talk about the tweet we received from a fellow gaming mark?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, I think so too. I just won't give his name. Yeah, so Doc kind of made a comment about how bad Legends of Wrestling is. He said, if it's the GameCube version, it's not as bad as PS2 or Xbox. So I said, check out the scores at the end of the episode. GamePro, IGN, etc. You'll be surprised how it's rated. He said, oh, I know somebody at, and he bleeps it out, got paid for that review. Just saying. Obviously, I'm intrigued. I gotta find out what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, he says, back in the day, even now, review sites would get paid or perks for scoring a game good or higher. There was the game Driver he used as an example. The game scored extremely high by sites before it hit stores, but then when the game hit, it was a mess, buggy, poor controls, and it sucked. I agree. I was so hyped for that game, especially Driver 2, Came with like the double disc and everything. I never even made it to the second disc. It sucked. You can get out of the car, but you could do nothing besides walk to another car with like these weird high knee looking steps. Yeah, so I mean that kind of pisses people off if a game's rated that high, and then, you know, it sucks. Just a little tidbit as we go through the ratings every week that they could be, a
little skewed,
a little fluffed.
It's interesting to take that into consideration.
I could see it happening for sure.
Yeah, especially if there's a game that we know plays terrible, even for the time. That maybe if we see a high rankings, maybe we put a little asterisk at the end of that.
But I agree with these high ratings.
Well,
I think somebody in WCW really pissed off Next Generation.
They didn't offer them the sweet advertising spot.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think it is time for us to get into the weekly tournament that we have on this podcast called Clash at the Feast. So, Clash put up a poll on our Twitter machine this week for the options for us to play for this match, and we let you guys vote. Your options were Sting vs. Goldberg from Halloween Havoc 1999, Hogan vs. Savage from Halloween Havoc 1996, Goldberg vs. DDP from Halloween Havoc 1998, and Eddie Guerrero vs. the Unmasked Rey Mysterio from Halloween Havoc 1997. Now, we did mention last week that because this is our quote-unquote Halloween episode, that all of the matches we were going to be picking from were going to be from Halloween Havoc, and our Clash at the Feast would be in the Halloween Havoc arena setting. And do you want to tell them what match won the vote? Because this was not what I expected. It's the one that I voted for, but I was not expecting this one to win. I had in my head that a different match was going to win.
Obviously, the classic of Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio.
Now, did you vote for this one, or did you vote for Sting Goldberg?
Obviously, Sting Goldberg. But the funny thing is, Hogan and Savage got 0 votes.
I thought Goldberg DDP was going to win.
Yeah, that was probably next on my list.
Yeah.
So, take us through it, since this was really your first time playing.
Yeah, so I gotta say, first impressions, we said that we did the Kevin Nash Psychosis warm-up match. We did poke around on a couple other things before we got into the Clash at the Feast, just to make sure that we were both warmed up and that we were ready to go. But, you know, entrances come out, we start moving around, and the only real thing that stuck out to me was that you move really fast just walking. Like, just the general walking movement is really fast, but you get used to it pretty quickly. The collision is really, really bad. You kept trying to do a chop block in the beginning, and you missed several times, and I was gifted this week with the Sabu spinning wheel kick from that you kept using on me in Legends last week.
The wheel kick of doom.
Yeah, and this was, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but it was a really fun match. Like, I had a lot of fun playing this game. So it was, the beginning of the match was kind of rough for Clash. Couldn't find his footing. And then out of nowhere, he was in control of the match. It was chop block after chop block, and every time I went for a grapple, he reversed it. And
I don't think I got one pin in.
No. You also had a hard time just doing grapples yourself.
Yeah.
Several flying frog splashes later, I managed to stand tall over Johnny Clash as my hand was raised in victory as this week's champion. Ladies and gentlemen, I beat Clash at his own game.
Again.
Play my music.
So we broke the tie. You're back in the lead.
Tie. I mean, the tie was being broken unless we somehow had a draw this week. So
That's so WCW. It just might happen.
the hidden draw feature that we didn't talk about. So, I mean, I know that this is a game that you love, and it's, we mentioned it all the time that you are such a WCW mark, but even though you lost, let's talk about your ratings here. Are you gonna play it forever, or are you gonna future endeavor?
The $1 million question. So every week we play these games that we used to play, and they suck. We've had multiple double future endeavors over the past few.
Yeah.
But this one.
This one
is one that I will take out every couple years. Play through maybe like a quest for the best. Maybe a few battle royals here, a few singles matches, some backstage stuff. And I will always play it forever. We haven't heard that Ric Flair woo in a while.
I mean, aside from when we first mentioned it, yeah, we haven't positively reviewed a game in a while. This was nice to hear you say something nice about a video game.
Yeah, this one just holds that place.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to do this title that you've literally been talking about since the trailer of this podcast.
And you.
You want the short version or the long version?
Please, the short version. It's 12:30.
Okay. Play it forever.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm shocked.
So, this game was just a lot of fun. Like, I could see myself going back and playing this. Like you said, going back and doing Quest for the Best. And, it was just, I say this every week. When you and I sit down and play a game, it's fun because you and I have fun doing this podcast. We have fun playing the games. But, there's a certain point where that ends and the frustration of playing a certain game sets in. And, it could only be fun to a certain point. This didn't have that. Like, this was just fun through and through. Even during the bad parts, it was still fun. Like, the collision detection is horrible, but it almost makes the game more fun because of that. Like, so, it's a game from the 90s. It's maybe not as polished as a game. I mean, I guess you really even couldn't say from this year, but it's not as polished as a more recent title would be. But there was something charming about it, not being
just
as
like
perfect
WCW
as it could have been or should have been, and it just was. Yeah, exactly. There was just something that made it fun, and I definitely will be going back and playing this just so I can say that I got the satisfaction of unlocking as much as I could.
That was it.
Did I surprise you?
Yeah, you did. You definitely did.
Yeah, you thought I was going to future endeavor this.
Like almost 110%.
No, see, I'm full of surprises, Johnny boy. All right, so that is going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this episode talking about WCW Mayhem.
What are we playing next week?
Next week on the podcast, we're going to be playing the Nacho Libre video game. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Nope.
But I have.
I have not.
Oh, I have. It's hilarious. It's Jack Black's in it. It's great. It's a good movie. But when I saw it, it was when it first came out.
Yeah.
So we're going to see.
I think everyone's usually shocked that I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so we're gonna see how it's aged. We're gonna see how the accompanying video game is. Yeah, so that does it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Don't forget to follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. Leave us a review and rating on iTunes, and subscribe to us wherever great podcasts can be found, including Clash. Tell them where we are now.
We are now available also on radio.com.
Friendly reminder, when we hit 200 followers, we will be releasing a special bonus episode featuring exclusive content that you won't find in every regular normal episode. So please, we're at the time of recording 50 people away from hitting this milestone, and we want to make as much content for you guys as we can. And as always, we like to end the episodes with Johnny Clash saying something stupid.
There's nothing finer than Scott Steiner.
Fat asses.